An interesting series of questions was thrown at me the other day by someone I highly respect, very knowledgeable, very accomplished, has served thousands of people in helping them have better outcomes as they plan their futures, plan their wealth strategies and how they hold their assets. And he asked 5 questions that are very relevant now as we have a new administration and things are changing. A lot of money's being spent. There's a lot of problems out there that need money. And the way that we're doing it, you know, it's costly, and it's debt creation, it's debt addition. I don't know how much you pay attention to this stuff, but if you want to go to usdebtclock.org, you're going to see what I'm talking about. We're close to 30 trillion in debt as a country, and it keeps growing like crazy as we print money and go further into debt to support all these different programs. And I'm not to say that when people need help and are desperate, there shouldn't be a support system to help them. But what I'm talking about now is financial volatility and what's happening now and continuing to happen. It's been happening for years. It's only been compounded. He asked these 5 questions, though. He said, will we have higher taxes in the future? He also said, will we have lower benefits in the future? He's talking about the federal government being able to provide benefits, okay? Social Security, Medicare, a lot of different things going on there, and you can take that down to different levels. He talked about, will we have inflation? You know, the Fed's doing all they can to keep that under control. My God, what would happen if the short term, not the long term, but the short term interest rate were raised by even 1/4 point? How upside down would everything go? That's called volatility to me. I don't know what it means to you. Fourth is will we have increased volatility? We're in a very, I guess volatile is the word, time, wouldn't you say? And what'll happen if we live too long? With everybody's life expectancy continuing to grow, time, year after year after year, life expectancy continues to grow. They're saying that children that are born, I don't know if it was by 2030 or if it's 2040, which is only like, what is that, 18 and a half years away, that 50% of all people born from that time on are going to live to be over 100 years old. It's just going to be normal. They say right now, any of us that reach age 65, there's an 80-something% chance that those people will reach age 84, I believe it was, something of that nature. But it's a crazy number even today. And that question there, will we live too long? Meaning, what happens if we outlive our money? And one of the comments by someone that looks at future, actuarials and considers these thoughts, he said, in the future, people are going to be long on life and short on cash. Not a bad statement. It's probably very true if people don't make adjustments and changes. The challenge is, as taxes do go up, it's going to impact your ability, my ability, our ability to have free flow of cash to do what we want to do and need to do. And so the question is, how do we put things in order so we're in more of a position of never ever again taxed on our money versus continually and forever taxed on our money? And there's ways to do that. And one statement this gentleman said to me, because he knows I have some assets, and I know a lot of people that have a very large chunk of their assets held in a way that they're going to be taxed way into the future. And whenever they start drawing out that money, they're going to be taxed at whatever the future tax rate is. Think about your 401ks and your 403bs, 457s. You're putting money into, maybe if you're in the working class age and you've got a company-sponsored program, most people do. If it's not a Roth, if it's a qualified traditional 401k, gives you the tax deferral option, and you contribute to that and you can deduct that from your income so you don't have to pay tax on that money. You're deferring that. That means you're postponing the payment of that tax, and you're postponing any earnings on that money you're contributing. You're postponing paying the tax on those earnings sometime in the future. And guess what? The government won't let you do much with that money until after you're 59 and a half years old. So that's not great. I'd like to have access to my capital so I can do things with it. And I'd like to avoid taxation too. However, after 59 and a half, when we start pulling that money out, you're taxed at whatever tax bracket your income is at for that year. So if you're pulling Social Security income, if you're pulling money out of your IRA and you maybe still have a business you're operating or a side gig or you're still employed, all that income is added together, and whatever tax rate that is, that's what you pay on your withdrawal from your 401k or IRA in the future. Maybe you know that, maybe you don't. And the really unknown is, what's that tax rate going to be in the future? How much are they going to tax me? What tax rate will I be? And then if that money gets passed on to your children or other heirs, how does the structure look for them to pull the money out? You know, today with the new laws, the Secures Act, when someone inherits a non-spouse, when a non-spouse, let's say you're second in a married couple to pass away, and that money's going on to the next generation or another group other than you or your spouse, now it's going to be taxed when they pull it out, and they have to pull it out within 10 years. They don't have what they call the stretch IRA, which means they could pull it out over their lifetime. You only have 10 years to pull out an inherited IRA now. You got to pay all the tax on it when you do. And if you wait 9th or 10th year and you haven't pulled it out, the federal government forces you to, and they're going to tax you on whatever tax rate that bubble of money puts you at in the income tax bracket. And you got to pay the tax on all of it. And here's what he said to me. He said, is there someone, Jeff, is there someone at the Internal Revenue Service that you are so madly in love with that you just can't wait to leave them a whole bunch of your money? I kind of laughed and took back and said, what do you mean, man? And he went back to that point, that qualified money, that IRA money. You know, if you have 2 or more children that are going to inherit your money, I'll take a number. Let's say it's $300,000 and there's 3 children going to inherit that $300,000 IRA. You can multiply this when I'm done. At a future date, we're putting an estimate here. Each of the 3 children gets $100,000. There's 300 grand altogether. And they say, I want the lump sum. When you check this out, you're going to find the study's done, over 90% of inherited IRA money, when it's inherited by a child or, you know, what I'm saying there, a kid, a grandkid, they take that money out immediately. They pay all the taxes on it. And what happens, $100,000 is going to be taxed about 40 grand. So the inheritor, the child, gets 60 grand to keep, gives 40,000 to the IRS. If that happened amongst 3 children, they each got 100,000, they each received 60,000. Guess what the Internal Revenue Service got? Collectively, you just gave them, as one of the beneficiaries, the Internal Revenue Service, you gave them $120,000, and your children got 60. The Internal Revenue Service got double what any of your 3 children got in that scenario. You know what? That's crazy, right? That's why he said, is there someone you're just so madly in love with at the Internal Revenue Service that you want to give them a whole bunch of your money? No, I don't love them at all. 0. There is no love. He said, well, you know, if you knew there was a way, you knew something existed that could allow you to avoid that completely, you know, at the very least, he said, humor me, Jeff. Wouldn't it be worth 45 minutes to find out about something like that? Yeah. So that ensued a conversation and helped me become educated more about that subject. And my goal is to help do the same for you. If this is something that's of interest to you, these points are causing you to think and reflect, I'd love to have a further conversation. If you want, you know how to reach me. If you like what you saw here, share it with a friend, share it with loved ones, like it, comment, and I hope to talk to you again soon. I'll share other thoughts as they come up. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.